Good morning and thank you for staying on KBC Channel 1. Of course, it is Sunday and it is the 5th day of the 6th month, the year 2022. And once again, we interrupt normal programming on this day as we continue with the coverage of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission exercise of clearing aspirants for the 2022 general election. And of course, right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, all eyes are at the Bomas of Kenya as IEBC has been clearing presidential aspirants for the 2022 general election. Yesterday, we took you through the process that saw Deputy President William Ruto get cleared to vie as president under the United Democratic Alliance Party. And of course, today we are expecting the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential nominee Raila Odinga to be appearing before IEBC to also get his chance to be taken through the clearance process. There are quite a number of requirements that each and every aspirant is required to adhere to so that they can meet what IEBC requires of them so that they can be given a nod to now join the list of candidates. So we'll also be taking you through that at the Bomas of Kenya. But this particular morning, the ODM leader Raila Odinga began his day by attending a church service at the All Saints Cathedral, of course accompanied by quite a number of leaders from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. And of course, we had our team who are part of this particular service, and we'll be giving you a sneak peek about how this also went down as we continue with our broadcast. But in studio, we are also going to be discussing this exercise that enters day 6. So far, 4 aspirants have been cleared in this particular process. I'll just take you through some of them. Walter Mongare was the first presidential aspirant to join the list of candidates, and Professor George Wajakoya, who is vying under the Roots Party, was also cleared. Waihiga Mwaura was another presidential aspirant who was cleared also by IEBC. Now he's officially a candidate for the 2022 presidential race. And yesterday we saw Deputy President William Ruto also join this particular list. So we expect that the exercise is going to be completed by IEBC on Monday. But of course, today is the chance of the ODM leader Raila Odinga to appear before the commission. Joining me in studio to take you through this particular process, as we expect Raila Odinga to be appearing before IEBC tentatively around 10 a.m. I have a panel of 2, a lady and a gentleman. Let me bring them into the conversation straight away. Yesterday we were with Dr. Churchill Sauke. Thank you, Churchill, once again for creating time. He's a lecturer and a political analyst. And this morning we are joined by Millie Luanga, a governance expert. Millie, thank you.
Thank you for
creating time for us on a Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So a lot is to be expected. And of course, there are quite a number of emerging issues with this whole exercise of clearing aspirants. But then again, I'd just like to get your expectations for the day. Millie, just let me begin with you.
I think that if the announcement of the running mate is anything to go by, I think there's going to be some pomp around former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's being cleared by IEBC. And I say this because he normally has a way of doing his things in a manner that will bring some pomp into it. So yesterday we saw the Deputy President, after clearing, going out to in the rallies within Nairobi to talk to people. I anticipate that today Raila's will also have some kind of pomp, maybe a little less loud as compared to the Deputy President's, but definitely some pomp into it. And there'll be a lot of excitement around his people. But I don't think maybe as much, because remember, this is, I think, his 5th attempt at trying to run as president for this country. So people do not expect that there should be any hiccups, because he knows what is required of a presidential candidate. He has previously met the criteria. IEBC has cleared him. If anything, I think, in all fairness, they should just have removed his file, you know, and said, is there any additional thing? Yes, an update, actually, that you're bringing today. But I think it should go smoothly. It's not one of those clearances like Wajakoya's that we thought maybe you'll find there's something missing because this is the first time that somebody is vying. Or even with the Deputy President, because he has never vied for presidency before, even though he's sitting within the office of the presidency right now, but as deputy president. So I don't foresee much surprises. I think it will just be good to know that we now have more horses in the race, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Churchill, from your end, do you anticipate that it's going to be smooth sail for Raila, or what is it that is on your mind?
Yes, thanks, Safina. I think that I expect, just as yesterday, what happened to the deputy president, we also expect some seamless process, because these are people, because of their, like for example, the former prime minister, because of his stature as well, you expect that there are a lot of advanced works that have been happening with between the technical team of the coalition and the IEBC. So by the time he goes there, his work is going to be easy. And if there were any other issues that need to be sorted out, I'm sure they will do them before he arrives in the venue. We also expect a lot of, because this being a political competition and his main competitor had given his show yesterday, he might try to use this opportunity to somehow try to outdo and try to outdo some of the things that the deputy president did yesterday. So he might try to put a lot of pomp and color, as Millie says, into the post presentation of the certificates, a lot of optics around the political rallies that he's going to do. And even we might also even expect, as we expect in this kind of, these are eventful moments, we also expect the key luminaries who might want to join his campaign, who previously had not shown support for him, wanting to use this opportunity to show that, you know what, I'm now in Azimio and this is now my stand. So you expect maybe newer faces who had not shown their support to come out in the face. So it will be interesting to see who are these people, especially there were faces that were absent yesterday. It might be interesting to see whether they are going to be present today. Yeah.
There's already, something that is trending about this being the fifth, something here. There. We follow what's happening on social media. But an important question that I would like to know from you, Churchill, what is different about this a particular day for Raila? It is the 5th time he's attempting to do this. What is making this unique? What is making this different?
I think what makes it different is the fact that it is one of those things I will consider one lifetime for him, because I will say that it is a do or die. If he does not make it into the IEBC list as a candidate, then the possibility of his politics, he might only act as a kingmaker and not as a candidate. So I think this is a do or die for him. If he does not make it in 2022, in 2027, the possibilities are very limited. He might only act as a kingmaker. So this is something that is very eventful for him. And also, even apart from that, he has built his politics over time. He has built his image. And so if at this stage IEBC decides and says that you are not eligible for, you do not meet the requirements, it's like it dents on his credibility, it dents into its many years of investment in politics, and even then dents into his legacy. Yes.
All right, Millie, you've seen so far how Raila Odinga has played his politics, how he has been packaging himself for this 5th race. Anything that stands out for you that probably was not there in the previous 4 attempts, something that would make this race different and much more likely for him to get the slot?
Yes, I remember that the last time that Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga came very, very close to winning the presidency. In actual fact, the Electoral Commission chairman then, may his soul rest in peace, said he did not know who won, was in 2007. And at that time, Raila had the second biggest, or one of the biggest communities as far as the voting bloc is concerned. He had the Kalenjin around him, or with him on the same side. Now this time again, when we are seeing he's very close to the presidency, he's got the Mount Kenya region ostensibly on his side. Although, of course, there's also been a lot of talk that Mount Kenya as a bloc stands behind the deputy president. But we have seen a lot of engagement going around the conversation of Raila Amolo Odinga climbing the mountain, you know, and he's been steadily climbing it, and people have been seeing that he's chipping away from the bloc that was seen to be solidly behind the deputy president then. Now we have also seen the joy and the jubilation and the impact that his running mate, Senior Counsel Martha Karua, has had on the Azimio race, and the fact that, in fact, immediately she came into the race, the conversation moved away from the two horses in the race, and it became, is it Rigathi or is it Karua? You know, people even forgot that these people are running mates to presidential candidates. So for me, I read that as a clear indicator that a good chunk of the Mount Kenya bloc was again moving towards Raila's side. So we already know that Raila, because he's not new to the country, he's one of those persons who have got command across the country. He has got wide following in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Western, in Nyanza, in parts of Eastern, in Northeastern. So he's known. It's a household name, and he has got wide following across the country. Now, what has been making him miss the block every time is that if he does not have the largest communities, because they form the largest voting bloc behind him, then his opportunity of getting the vote sealed in his favor becomes lesser. And we say this because, with all due respect to the Western community, which is also seen as another large voting bloc, they are consistently seen as people who turn out maybe 70–60% to vote. So much as they have the numbers do not translate so much into votes. Perhaps it's because they've never had a presidential candidate. Well, they did at one point, but even then, they did not vote for that presidential candidate in those numbers. So that factor being taken into account, the people who are keenly interested in voting and as a bloc are the large communities of Rift Valley and the Mount Kenya region. And having this behind him gives a big boost, because he's never had that. The last time he was with them was in 2002. He was not a presidential candidate, but he had declared somebody Tosha. May the soul of Mwai Kibaki rest in peace. So he had declared him Tosha, and that community was behind him, together with yet another community that was seen as one of the big five communities, the Nyanza region. So that was seen as a kingmaker moment. So this is yet another time that we possibly see another potential of having a kingmaker moment. So I think that's the big difference that we see here now, because it's like his nose is almost there, like the way we saw it again in 2007. So there's eagerness to see whether it will really translate into votes.
Indeed, it is a wait and see moment for the country. We have to wait until 9th of August to see whether that strategy is going to work for him. But Churchill, something also that has been part of the conversation around this campaign for 2022 has been the ticket, Raila Odinga, Martha Karua. Some political pundits argue that the entry of Martha Karua into that particular ticket may have sort of sparked something. What do you think?
Yes, you know the key thing, and as Millie has alluded, is that the ethnic arithmetic is very important in the politics and in the winning strategy of the politicians in this country. And I think that when the crafts of being made around who is likely to be the Azimio running mate, that arithmetic and that equation, ethnic equation, was very key. And of course, Martha Karua, when you look at his credentials as somebody who's been a reformer, you know, he comes out as a person who previously had fought for certain injustices and has been able at the forefront of fighting for the democratic space that we currently enjoy. Then you find that he was fitting so much into the ideologies and the ideals of the Azimio, and specifically Raila Odinga's. But then when you look at his backyard, there is a way in which she's perceived. She's perceived as an Iron Lady, considering there was a time she walked out of a presidential function because she differed with the president. So people believe that she's a principled person. This is someone who people can trust and, you know, and take a given direction when she believes it is right. So the Iron Lady part of it was a very strong, it came out as a very strong, what I would call character of her personality that will draw charisma to people around him. And I think that previously, when this may not have helped her in building her political image, because she had not seen, or she had not gotten into the what I would call the coalition that will help build her image. But the moment that she was announced a running mate, it sort of, these characters came into play, and people began to see her personality, and that was charming to people. And then the various voting blocks, the women began to see that, you know, we have an opportunity to become the second highest ranking person in the country, and this is the person who is going to help us. So it somehow made the Mount Kenya region to have an opportunity of a 50-50. And you know, the Azimio actually caught their opponents catch-22, because the moment Karua was announced, a number of people within the Mount Kenya region began to see that, you know what, for us in this election it can go either way, and that's a very dangerous way to think. We don't mind either way, because now the moment people begin to think that way, it means that people are already 50-50. So the voting block is already 50-50. When I go into the voting, when I go voting, I can go vote A or I go vote.
So you can't really tell. So you until the very last day.
Exactly.
You can't, as a candidate, you can't really tell whether your backing is at a particular extent until.
And that is an advantage. That's an advantage to an aspirant, especially if the aspirant was coming from a point where people had already decided that we are not voting you. Okay? So you are making them to transition from we are not voting you to we can vote you. You know, people are warming up. That means they are warming up to you. So it means that the decision, some of them will make the decision at that point. And the things that will make them make the decisions that sometimes are very flimsy. Very flimsy, like, you know, I'm going to vote for a woman. You know, I'm going to vote for one of our. So it sort of was an advantage to the Azimio coalition, and we have to admit and give it to them that that choice helped to sort of build some constituency around Martha Karua that has added them some votes, some percentage of votes within the Mount Kenya region.
And if
just as you add on that still, he has talked about the regional balance and how it's likely to also influence how people are going to vote. There's also something that came with that ticket when Martha Karua was added on it, the gender conversation that erupted, and all of a sudden it was seen as a milestone in the journey of women and leadership in this country. Maybe just to comment on that, as we are expecting Raila Odinga to be heading here. What you're seeing there on your screen is this journey to the Bomas of Kenya. This is Lang'ata Road, as Raila Odinga has just left the All Saints Cathedral. He had attended a church service earlier there, and now he's making his way to the Bomas of Kenya to appear before the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to present his papers, and of course also to finalize the clearance process by the IEBC. You can see both sides there. We are giving you pictures from Bomas of Kenya and Lang'ata Road. So one side, Raila Odinga, accompanied by leaders from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, making their way to Bomas of Kenya. And on the other side, you can see the chair of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, just making final touches, I believe, on the process that is just about to begin as it enters day 6. So far, the commission has cleared 4 presidential aspirants who have now been given their clearance certificates, and their candidates candidates now for the 2022 presidential race. So officials of the IEBC, they are taking their positions and making their final touches there on whatever is necessary as the process is expected to begin. So Raila Odinga, what we saw when he was in church early, was accompanied by his running mate Martha Karua. Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya is also part of the leaders who are accompanying Raila Odinga this morning. And of course the spokesperson of Raila's presidential campaign secretariat, that is Professor Makau Mutua, also was accompanying him there. Charity Ngilu, Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, who is the Jubilee Sec-Gen, was also part of that particular process, and Minor Commander and Mheshimiwa James Ongwae. So when we get to when they get to Bomas of Kenya, of course we'll be crossing over to also give you pictures of what is happening there. But yes, what you can see there, of course, that is the situation and the mood at the Bomas of Kenya. So any minute from now, he's supposed to be making his way there. From what we saw yesterday, of course, he's going to be taken to a waiting bay for introduction and, of course, formal information on what is expected of him. And then later on, then he will make his way to the main hall. This is the main hall at the Bomas of Kenya, where he's going to be moving from one section to another, from one IEBC official to another, just finalizing whatever requirements they have of him this morning. So we are also talking about this whole process and some of the expectations. And Millie, we were just talking about the Martha Karua Raila ticket, and Churchill had told us what this meant for Azimio, and termed it as a boost and a plus for them. What do you think about it from where you sit?
Yes, I just was remembering the fact that at the point when the election fever was beginning to get higher, although we've been in election mode since 2018, but when it was getting higher and the Mount Kenya region started talking about them missing out, remember that the leaders, the non-political leaders within the region, began coming together, and at that point, Martha Karua had already been identified as the spokesperson of the region when she was together with Moses Kuria, amongst other leaders, as they were talking before. They began splitting their different ways, because we know politics, a lot changes in a day. Yeah, before they began splitting. So already the community had begun to embrace her as one of those people who could possibly protect the interests of the community and could be able to speak for the community. So yes, she comes there with the gender agenda, because she is a woman, she cannot run away from that. So that already brings the gender agenda into it. But she already comes from a history of being known as a firm person, a protector of certain principles and rights, and a person who has got a political sway in her own right. There are many people who believe to date that she actually did win the gubernatorial elections in 2017 and only lost all the way to the Supreme Court on technicalities, but not that she did not have the masses behind her. So people already believe that she has got the people, other than just even the women, but she has got the people. She's a political player. She understands this game. She's been in it for over 3 decades. So it's something that she's a good player at. And for women, it was not just a question of, because a lot of young women constantly ask that question, not why just a woman? She's not just a woman. She was the woman, There could have been many other women who would have been given that position, and the conversation would have moved on to the agenda and moved out of what they're bringing to the table. Because people would have been, is it useful to just have any woman there? But she was the woman with the background, with the political sway, with the political history that would keep the agenda focused on this is the time that it is ripe for women to be in that office of the presidency.
All right, and Raila Odinga there already has arrived at the Bomas of Kenya. You can see there his motorcade making its way to where he's going to now begin the process of being cleared by IEBC, accompanied there by leaders of the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Alliance. And this is the 5th time that Raila Odinga is going through this particular process of seeking clearance from the commission to vie as the country's president, to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. So this is actually something that is quite pivotal in his political career. And of course, we are going to, find out whether he has what it takes, because this is where it starts. IEBC has to give you the nod to vie. So let's wait and see whether Raila Odinga has everything that is needed for one to become a candidate for presidency. But then again, just to come back to you, Churchill, on the gender question, there's quite a number of people who had a feeling that okay, fine, it's good to give women a chance to lead, but then again, let's also look at the competitive nature of our politics. Let's look at who has the threshold to be a leader. Let's not just be soft to who is a woman. Yes, and you'll tell me a bit about what you think about the gender debate when it comes to leadership and settling for whoever is to vie. But you can see there Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, the running mate for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, and just trying to make their way to I believe they should be taken to the waiting bay first of all before they go to the main hall, as the IEBC officials on the other side are finalizing whatever arrangements they were having to receive Raila Odinga and his team. But you can see there quite a number of leaders took their time to accompany the former premier for this very important exercise, not just for him but for their coalition as they are in the race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. So yeah, he's being ushered into that room, and very closely following there is Martha Karua, the running mate, and of course other leaders also making their way, trying to squeeze their way into that room. They are trying to spot who is among these leaders. But of course, just what we are sure about is all of these are people who are backing the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance in the 2022 general election. There you can see former Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth also trying to make his way into the section where Raila Odinga is going to be sitting. And of course, security, you can see they are quite tight, as this is, we remember IEBC was very categorical on making sure that all the presidential aspirants are accorded the much needed security as they conduct their campaigns and as they go through the process of, finalizing their process of campaigning in the country. So security in this particular place has to be quite tight, considering the caliber of leaders who are going to be there. And what you see now is the Bomas of Kenya inside the main hall, and you can see there IEBC officials strategically placed in different sections. At one section we have the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati, who is the national returning officer, and at one section we have now where you can see there a table that is stretched with IEBC officials placed in different seats, and Raila Odinga will have to go through each and every one of them for him to be cleared. So we'll be taking you through that. And of course, this Churchill, just to bring you back, we were talking about that ticket still, Martha Karua, Raila Odinga. What's your take about the gender conversation that it elicited? I think, well, in as much as it's important to always look at the leadership capacity of an individual, it's very significant. In politics, the narrative is also very important. In what kind of narrative do you want to build that will change the discourse? And I think that what the Azimio may have been looking at is who can they be able to nominate that can create a new narrative in the political discussion, to the extent that it can help them win over not just the voting bloc of the specific region they are targeting, but also beat their opponents. So the gender card was something that actually caught the opponents off guard, because if you would have chosen, I think if Azimio would have chosen a male running mate, you would not have had an impact as it did with having Martha Karua, considering the woman aspect. Remember that throughout history,
the history of Kenya, there has never been a deputy president who is a woman. And so this was more like a moment of inspiration for the young girl, for, you know, for the women. And apart from that, in terms of creating a narrative that will appeal to the undecided voters, specifically to the region where Martha Karua is coming from, there are those who felt that, you know what, we cannot be able to vote for the former prime minister, maybe because of certain stereotypes or certain mindsets that we have. But how can we be able to get a person who they will appeal to them and they will vote for that person? Not, you know, there are people who will see Martha Karua, the Raila Martha Karua ticket, and vote for Martha and not vote for Raila. So that was the kind of thinking that this card came with. So you bring a ticket that will make people, you hate one person, but you vote for that team because you like the other. And that actually helped. That is the biggest impact that Martha Karua has come with in the Azimio ticket. So in terms of his leadership capacity, he has the competence. He has her history tells it all in terms of her credence. So the gender card is sort of an added advantage, because when you look at, if you would have brought in maybe other candidates who do not have good history in terms of their leadership capacity, then we would then question that, why do you bring in the gender card without necessarily looking at her or her capacity to lead? But in this case, I think Martha Karua beats that kind of discussion. Yeah.
So it's not just a woman, like Millie said, it's the woman.
The woman.
Yeah. So I mean, there's one thing that before both coalitions unveiled their running mates, there's one thing that people are talking about as part of the things that they will be looking at. That's chemistry and the working relationship, based on what has happened between the current duo, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. If you look at the deputy William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua ticket and the Raila Odinga Martha Karua ticket, in terms of chemistry and working relationship, do you think that was considered, Millie, for both at this point?
I dare say that it must have played a very small percentage of the consideration. Yeah. And I say this because if you remember, I'm not very good at body language reading, but I listen a lot to what people say about body language. And if you remember the body language of Honorable Rigathi as he came out to make his speech after he was appointed.
Even as you continue, that's Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who is also making his way to Bomas of Kenya, and he has just joined the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential nominee Raila Odinga at this section where they are waiting for further communication from IEBC on when they should proceed to the main hall for the clearance process. Remember, he had ditched the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance only for him to come back, make an about turn and come back, and he has been leading a series of rallies and supporting the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, and we'll be discussing that in a bit. But yeah, you can see him there, Kalonzo Musyoka, just appearing to be presenting himself to be part of the leaders who are standing with Raila Odinga in this. As actually you had said, we are going to see quite a number of faces and people, you know, coming to just express their solidarity and affirm that yes, we are here and we are supporting you. And Kalonzo is here, so
yeah, sure. This is a very important time that you have to show face, because your absence speaks has got political significance, and your presence equally has. So I think that the presence of Kalonzo there speaks volumes. It shows his commitment that, you know what, I now believe in the cause and I'm now fully supporting the former Prime Minister.
Yeah, because had he failed to come, people would ask, it would be news that there is Kalonzo. Yes, but Millie, you were saying something?
Yes, I was saying that the body language of Honorable Rigathi as he came out to make his speech after being announced as the person who emerged the best after rigorous voting process and analysis process, he was actually walking past the deputy president and then remembered and went back and gave him the hug and went back there. It was like, I have got it, I have achieved it, you know. It was like it was his, but of course his speech was very different, because in his speech he was like For me, what I know, I'm not sure if that is what he said then, but anyway, subsequently, that what I know is yes, sir. I will be a yes, sir person to the president. He is the president. So we, from his history, we want to believe that he will be able to be subordinate to his president, but he has never been in such a very high office before, so we cannot be too sure of that. Now, for Martha Karua, many people expected maybe something different because she's been known as a very strong personality. She walked out of the former president Moi at a time when nobody would dare. She resigned from the cabinet of President Mwai Kibaki at a time when people knew that that people in those senior positions do not hold very strong views and express it in such a loud manner. So people were anticipating that she probably would come with that headstrong personality coming in. But she has also grown. She has also grown politically, of course in age as well, as we all do. And I think that the lessons she has learned being out there, she spoke to that herself and said that you cannot expect that I will be the same Martha that I was 20 years ago. And she said when she's going there, she has an agenda, and I'm not going to let you down. She has made promises to different sectors that she will be able to sit there and fulfill the agenda to the end. So people anticipate that she will try and find a working relationship, no matter how difficult it may be at times. And she has said that herself, that it will not always be rosy, but when it is not rosy, she will stay in there and make sure that it works.
All right.
So that's something positive.
Let's wait and see. So yeah, like you had said earlier, Millie, there you can see the pomp, the color, the jubilation that is there at the Bomas of Kenya, as Raila Odinga is expected to go through the clearance process by IEBC. What you can see there are some of the supporters of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. The Westlands Member of Parliament aspirant Tim Wanyonyi is also part of the leaders who are in this particular place to just show their solidarity to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential nominee and his running mate Martha Karua. I've spotted there Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o inside the main hall at the Bomas of Kenya, and of course we'll just be taking you through some of the leaders who are there and also what will be happening, and later on what the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance has lined up as part of the activities for the day. So keep it KBC Channel 1 as we take you through that. But of course, Churchill, there is something that also stood out about the passion that these two people have, their struggle for liberation, their passion for constitutional reforms also. Is that something that can give us a sneak peek of what type of government probably we are looking at in the event, that is, if it happens, they succeed in their bid?
Yes, I think that is something that is expected, considering these are people who have built their political career on the basis of reforms and, you know, just institutional change. So we expect, should they win the election, we will expect a lot of transformation, and, you know, they are clamored to want to change things and how things are done. And of course, this is something that is a wait and see, because you see, you know the true color of people when they get power, because, you know, remember, bureaucracies are also there to try to oppose any reforms that happen. So you might come and you really change, you want to transform the institutions, but the same institutions you want to transform will always want to fight you back until you give up. And these are things that really happens to people at the corner offices. You know, you try to bring a host of changes, but then you realize that there is too much inertia within the system until you feel frustrated and say, okay, let them just continue with the things they're doing. So we are yet to see that. Of course, there is, you know, the good thing with when a new regime comes, there is always fear within the system. And when you take advantage of that fear in the initial stages, you can make change. But if you take time and before you make the changes, as the French say, the more things change, the more they remain the same, things will go back to the equilibrium. So the first 100 days of any leader is very significant, because if you cannot be able to do anything within that time, then nothing can happen. The other thing that maybe I expect is that being that these are people who have had a lot of interest in, especially constitutional changes, they might use this opportunity to try and institute certain changes within the constitution to bring some of the aspirations that they have wanted to, but they were not able to do before. Yeah.
What do you think about that, Amelie? The type of administration we are looking at under the Raila Odinga government, looking at what he personally has been passionate about over time. If given a chance to lead this country, what is it that you expect to see?
Change. I expect to see change, and I say this because what we know of Raila Odinga is that he does not fear to take the bull by the horns, and he has been able to do things or effect things that were seen controversial, and people at one time even thought that these are things that would finish him politically. And indeed they did follow him for years politically, for clearance of the land that made the Thika Expressway was a big issue. The Mau Forest was another big issue, you know. There are many things that when he's been in government or had opportunity to be in government, that he has really taken by the horns and tried to push. So I think the focus that he has on taking one agenda that he thinks is key and staying true to it is something that I hope he will take. I don't know what it will be. I hope it will be corruption, because then it would be good for this country. But whatever it is, we anticipate that he will take that and fight to ensure that that is done, despite the difficulties that he'll face, because we know coalition building and coalition sustenance is not easy. And having 24 political parties together with all the diverse interests is not going to be easy. I mean, he is presenting his papers today. Already yesterday, one of the key people within Azimio was already talking about becoming the next president in 2027. He has yet to present his papers. So we know that there's likely to be a lot of issues ahead here that we'll have to deal with. But we know from experience, unless he has changed, because people do change sometimes, that whatever he will decide that he wants to change, he will hold on to it and make sure that it works. And his running mate is one of the people that we know stands for certain ideals. And that is one thing we crave for in Kenya. We want principled leaders, and we hope that we will see those principles in that presidency.
Talking about coalitions and what is at stake, let me begin from the most, is it the most recent, maybe there's something else, but the return of Kalonzo Musyoka to I haven't even finished asking my question really, and you're here. You know, the return of Kalonzo Musyoka to Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya lands. What do you think about it?
I think this was a calculation that was well done. And in political equations, you must have more than one answers. It's the kind of equation that you'll have 1 + 1 not equal to 4 only. If you say 4 only, you are dead on arrival. So there has to be multiplicity of answers in any political equation, and so that when one fails, you go to the another, and on and like that. And so I think that for Kalonzo Musyoka, he had looked at his political equation in that manner and seen how best can I be able to negotiate. At some point, he delayed in his negotiation processes until he missed out. But then I think it reached points when he realized that he is giving in, but he needs to give in by saving face. Okay? So by the time he was actually presenting his nomination papers, he was not into it. He was just saving face. By the time the former Prime Minister was announcing him as a Chief Cabinet Secretary, and then him not strategically not coming to KICC, he had already given in. He was just saving face. Because remember, he was coming from a point where he had already had a very hardline position. Then all of a sudden, you want to claim that you've stopped your hardline position and you're accepting. So he was sort of playing he was managing the public image. He was managing his image in public to an extent that it reaches points when he has already accepted what he what he has been given, but in a manner that does not damage his image. So I think he was doing public image control, which he has somehow tried to manage. But you know, in as much as he's doing that, he's you know, some of his handlers did not advise him well, because you know, you do not blackmail systems, especially those who, you know, those who you want to support. That was one of the things that really messed him up. And even now, it is too early to begin talking about 2027.
All right. So you can see there Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua, accompanied there by IEBC officials. They've just been taken through the introductory process where the officials have explained to them what is expected of them, and now they're being guided into the main hall where the clearance process is going to take place. But there you can see it's quite an area of activities and people packed there just to be part and parcel of this process of accompanying Raila Odinga as he's going to be taken through the clearance process by IEBC. So any minute from now, he will be making his way into the main hall at the Bomas of Kenya, here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, to begin the clearance process. But then this shouldn't take long, considering what we've seen with the previous processes for clearing aspirants. Of course, just a confirmation that each and every aspirant has what is required, which includes among them, of course, their academic certificates that have to be certified by their institutions that they obtained them from. And of course, also they have to ascertain that they are the ones presenting themselves before IEBC. So you will be witnessing Raila Odinga there presenting his identification documents and also his biometrics being taken by the officials of IEBC. And of course, also the aspirant has to come with a list of supporters, people who are backing his or her bid. Of course, there we will see Raila Odinga presenting that. They are supposed to be having about 48,000 signatures of supporters who have to come from across the country. At least 24 counties the signatures have to be from at least 24 supporters from at least 24 counties, and these have to be accompanied by the hard copies of photocopies of identity cards of these supporters, just to verify that they are backing whichever aspirant is presenting themselves before IEBC. So I believe for each and every aspirant, including Raila Odinga, days that have come before they appear before IEBC for clearance have been quite busy as they try to put together all that is required and all that is necessary for them to be able to ensure that they have what it takes, because the timelines do not allow for any mistakes and any gaps at this particular juncture. But then again, we've seen quite a number of aspirants who have been disqualified courtesy of not meeting the threshold, and so it is quite a very important day for each and every aspirant. And I'd just like to so this is where it actually begins. So Raila Odinga there taking his seat, accompanied by his running mate Martha Karua, as they take the first they appear before the first official of IEBC. So even as we continue just looking at those pictures, Millie, probably what's on your mind right now as you see this moment happening? Raila Odinga there, what do you think is going on?
I think it's a beautiful thing to see that a woman is very close to getting into the presidency, and she's seated right there. But it's I do not think that the only candidate that Azimio coalition has in the entire 2022 general election should find a shortfall. The Azimio secretariat should have worked overtime to ensure that all his documents will be perfect, if nothing else. It's the only candidate that they have. So they should have made sure that his things are okay. And I would be very, very surprised if there was something wrong from this stage forward. I expect it should go smoothly to the end, and then he should be given his certificate and then allowed to go out. We've seen a lot of preparation going on. We've seen the Azimio regional blocks being launched. The Nyanza has been very vibrant, announcing the campaign trail that they will be forming post this exercise. So it will be good to see now how this brigade of 24 political parties drawn across the country will be able to ensure that we feel the presence of this team that is seated there now on the ground as we think about our voting on August.
Churchill, what's your comment about it?
And I think this one is quite it's just like yesterday, it's a momentous occasion for IEBC, and you know, even apart from the candidates, the IEBC must also be as precise to engineering level, because the political stakes are extremely high. You know, these are the kind of candidates that you would not want to stay within Bomas of Kenya for more than 3 hours or even 1 hour, because the kind of noise outside, even you as the chairman of commission, you just want to finish up with them and they go very fast. so they have to be very precise and to the point. The other thing is that you might find that even if they were found with certain documents missing, you may wish to handle it as fast as possible, because it also makes the bill create some trust or distrust between the public and the commission. You know, they are political supporters of some of these candidates, like the former prime minister, who believe he is right even if he is wrong. So the commission will always be wrong even if the commission is right. So just because of that kind of trust issues and perception issues, you might not want to bring those kind of mistakes. So the responsibility is both ways, both the parties and also the commission, to ensure that they build trust with the public, and also to also help them to reduce the kind of tension that is within Bomas as is now. Because, you know, as time goes by, the supporters are increasingly coming, and as they keep surging, if their candidate is staying longer, they might even want to break into the auditorium. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that is what is going on at the Bomas of Kenya, and the first section there, we saw them sign some sort of document, and now they've gotten into the main hall. This was at the entrance when they were signing that particular document. Probably it could be just to ascertain that they came and they were signing, just to confirm that they were there. And of course, before they were now ushered into the main hall, and this is where it will now officially begin, as they will be taken through each and every section that IEBC officials have set up for them to be cleared. But then, we were talking about their chances of winning and what might have played a role in this, and whether their strategy is going to work ahead of the 2022 presidential polls. But then again, Millie, just on the same question, the Kalonzo question, his return, he seems to be feeling that it was well organized, well planned to save his image in public. I want to believe he's a genuine person who wanted to become the 5th president and did not get that opportunity, and was wanted to at least get the second most important slot. He did not get, and decided to go back to his plan A. What do you think?
I think that Kalonzo Musyoka at one point had put a lot of faith in the possibility.
Sorry, let me cut you short. Yes. We'll come back to you. Let's listen into what is happening at Bomas of Kenya, and then we'll come back in studio with our analysis.
Country. Almighty God, we pray that you guide the work of our hands, that we may foster sustainable democracy in our country, Kenya. Bless Kenya, bless this commission, and grant us peace, love, and unity now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you. Let's be seated. Welcome to the IEBC Presidential Nomination Registration Center. We started this exercise on 29th of May, and today, 4th of May, we receive the 12th Presidential aspirant, that is the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the only presidential aspirant vying through the coalition party. We've had 11 aspirants, 4 from political party and 6 from independent. We welcome sir to go through the registration process. You'll be assisted by officers, and we ask those who are taking photos and video to kindly give them the space to do so smoothly. After going through the registration process, you will come before the presidential registration officer, who is also the IEBC chairperson, Mr. Wafula Chebukati. Thank you and feel most appreciated. All right, so that is what you see there. Already the process has begun,
and Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua are being taken through the process from one IEBC official to another, as whatever requirements is needed there, they avail. And of course, just sort of to get you a feeling about the mood, Millie, you've seen there Raila Odinga and Martha Karua already began the process. What is it that you read right now? Even as you see, you seem like you're an expert of body language. This, you know.
No, I think you're trying to put me in a corner because you know I'm not. But I think it is apparent that for Raila it's business as usual. Yes. Because he's done this a number of times before, and you can see that he's waiting to see whether IEBC will do the right thing. Remember that in 2017, at one point, the Supreme Court had told them they did a mess of the entire process, and it was under the same current leadership. So I think he's skeptical. He's waiting to see whether the people who vote for him will actually have their votes count. For Martha, she's representing a lot of people's hopes and dreams that it is going to be real for women to actually be seen as credible running mates, not as people who are just running for the gender card or to say that a woman has run or has been brought, but who comes to the table with something to offer and with a name that is behind her. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing even as we look at it, and we hope that the best candidate will win come August 2022. But it's a good thing to see that Raila, who seems to have a vision for this country, has not given up on us yet. He's still trying to bring that thing that he's been trying to bring to us, despite the hurdles that he has faced. It's a good thing for people to know that you don't give up on something you believe in. You try and try again because there's something that you want to sell and something that you want people to be able to see. It has been a journey, and I remember at one point he told people that the journey to Canaan is long and many will be lost along the way. Some dropped off, came back, dropped off again, came back. Others dropped off and went completely, like we saw with Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi. We have seen others join as he's moving along. People who have said that they've never before voted for Raila, but this time they're going to vote for him. So it's been a journey. It's something worth watching. It's a good lesson for us to learn, and particularly for young people who will see that the journey may not always be easy, but keep true to the trail. And eventually you may just get there.
All right, may just get there. I underline that.
Yes.
Because we still have to wait till D-Day to see whether this ticket is going to sell. But Churchill, there's something that also we are seeing there about the choice of those who are proposing and seconding the bid for the aspirants for Raila Odinga. What is it that is on your mind about? I want to believe those who are seated at the row behind them are the people who are going to be seconding them. What is on your mind about their choice of a proposer and a seconder?
Yes, I think
that is. Compare that with also the Kenya Kwanza, what they did yesterday with the Mama Mboga and the Boda Boda rider.
I think those are very symbolic political statements that they are trying to make. Just the same way yesterday's Kenya Kwanza brought in the Mama Mboga to embolden their political ideology of the hustler nation. Today, I think that the Azimio is bringing young people. When you look at the presidential candidate Raila and the running mate, they are coming more as, they are coming more with father figures, mother figurehood, So we are the Baba, Mama. So it means that they are fathers of the nation, they are mothers of the nation. And so they want to aspire to the young people and appeal to the young people that, we hold you at best and we are the best, you are safe in our hands. So they are trying to appeal to the young nation, that, the young people in the country, that we are the best, who have your best interest at heart, and that you vote for us, because you see the opponents will come and say that you guys are old, you know, you are old, you no longer think like us. But the moment you have a young person endorsing you, it means that you are believing that the young people believe in your political ideology, the young people believe that you are the best who will serve their best interests. So this is a statement they are trying to make to the young people, and we hope that, you know, we wait to see whether young people are going to accept and take that symbolism to vote for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's that aspect of, you know, that youth agenda, and both coalitions, those who are front runners in this race, are really focused on how they wish to solve the problems that ail the young people in this country. For the Kenya Kwanza, if I've been following what they've been selling as part of their narrative is, in fact, Deputy President has been categorical on putting investments in labor-intensive projects that will create job opportunities for the youth. Raila Odinga has also talked about the issue of joblessness quite passionately, and even talked about his plan to, you know, facilitate families that maybe may not have any source of living. There's going to be a monthly stipend, among other issues that he has talked about, including investing in the Jua Kali sector to promote the artisans. You know, do you feel like this is a sell for what is ailing the young people, or there could be a proposal that would better address the issue of unemployment and the challenges that the youth are facing, Millie?
I think that when it comes to selling a political agenda, you must relay the message in a manner that people will be able to identify with it. And that is why perhaps they have adopted these approaches. Because, for example, when many people have not gone to look at the underlying issues that UDA has stated in as far as building the young people economically is concerned. Many people just focus on the wheelbarrow, that he said he will give them wheelbarrows, and they focus on that, and forgetting that he has said he'll do a lot more than that. It is the same thing when it comes to Raila Amolo Odinga, that now a lot of focus is on Jua Kali and making sure that their credentials are recognized, and also on ensuring that there's support for the vulnerable groups. But if you look at, if that is anything to go by, I think that the BBI, which did not meet the legal criteria for it to have sustained, the BBI had a wonderful and very firm and solid proposal of how to put in place policies and legislation that will then expand the space for young people. And I think that other than this political talk that we have, which is important now for the vote, because people are not looking at technical documents, it's important for us to look at a systematic way within which you'd be able to address it. I was talking to some young people a while back, and one of the things that they told me is the HELP loan and the way it is killing them. The same help that was put in place that many people praise because it helped them go through university is now making university no longer an ideal thing for young people, because it's a headache, it's a yoke around your neck. And for many of us who went through university many years ago, we did not know this yoke that is now hanging around people's neck, and we don't know the burden of it. So it's important for us to address, and those are policy issues. That is something that you cannot address in a campaign motto or mantra, you know, that will excite people. But it would be important to have a strong systematic way and policy in place that would widen the space and remove all these blocks. The other day, a lot of young people were suddenly making money in social media. They didn't have shops, but we were able to buy things from them online. The next thing is somebody has gone there to follow them in social media where they are, to make sure that they will pay taxes, you know. So it's important for us to find systems that will allow people space to just breathe and at least get out of that hole before you start following them, because paying tax is important. It is part of your being patriotic. It is key. But let us not kill you with the paying tax, because then who will pay the tax? You'll be dead.
All right. We've seen there Raila Odinga also and the running mate Martha Karua as they were just moving from one IEBC official and another, and of course also being granted their certificate there. But what you can see now is the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati, who is the presidential registration officer of IEBC, and he's just waiting to also get a chance to interact with Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua. Of course, they are accompanied by leaders from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance and officials of the alliance there. So he's going to be the one who is going to officially declare whether Raila Odinga and Martha Karua are going now to officially be on the race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. This should be happening any minute from now. So we will still stay for you at the Bomas of Kenya just to wait for that to happen, to see whether Raila Odinga is going to be, you know, given that nod or not. But of course, so far what we have witnessed, so far so good, as he has been moving from one agent to another. Just to come to you, Churchill, on the same aspect, what has been thrown around in terms of the narrative of what is to solve the problem that is bedeviling this particular country for both Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. What do you think about their packaging of the message that they have as part of their vision for the country? Is it a sell?
You know, there has been a lot of discussions around economics and, you know, just taking the country into an economic liberation. And as I've always said, that these coalitions, you know, they're somehow speaking the same things, but packaging them in with different jargons. But of key interest is how this is going to be done, because you see, sometimes politicians become extremely they move with a lot of euphoria, they move with a lot of emotions, but government is very logical. Government is very rational. The moment you get into government, you might realize that if you're not well structured, you might realize that implementing some of these programs become very difficult, because these things will require appropriate policy mechanisms for them to be implemented. But then there's something that maybe would be important to draw from, and the politicians could think about. When you think about, I think I'm not sure, maybe it could be between 2002 to 2005. Before 2002, this country, there used to be a lot of, the border sector was more, the bicycles are the ones that dominated the border sector. But then the policy dimension that government had taken, that took young people and made motorcycles to get into the country, and, you know, young people adopted this, and it became an inspiration today that every young person wants to own a border. Now that level of inspiration and policy dimension is what maybe the politicians need to adopt to maybe align their economic policies into something much better. If it is, for example, you want to build the knowledge-based economy, or you want to build the skill-based economy, you need to inspire the young people to think in that dimension, even as you build on the institutions and the institutions and the policies that will make that work. You know, for example, today, you know, it is one thing to tell people that you are going to create a fund that will support businesses. It is another thing for that fund to provide proper entrepreneurial ecosystem that will help young people become entrepreneurs. So, you know, these are structural issues that the politicians must really think through. And it goes beyond
availing the money.
It's not just about
money.
I mean, the monies have always been availed.
Yeah.
They have always been availed, and, you know, the more you avail them without proper structures and proper inspiration, the more that money will be embezzled. We've had funds, we've had youth funds.
Yes.
But how much has it helped young people? So there has to be an inspiration that drives. You see, when you look at a typical Japanese will as he grows up, or as she grows up, she wants to become an innovator who will be recognized by government, and government provides support framework for them.
Short, but just don't want us to miss this moment. This is Raila Odinga, Right Honorable Raila Odinga there. Sorry for the signal issue you're facing. We're just trying to capture as much as we can for you. So he's just about to sign the certificate. This is a clear sign that seems like he is getting the nod after all. Raila Odinga, his name written on the certificate of nomination by IEBC to join the presidential race for the 2022 general election. His running mate is Mark Karua, and of course they've been there together just going through the clearance process by IEBC. So after this, I believe the next stage should be him appearing before the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati. Of course, we expect they're going to have a chance to also speak and address those who are at the Bomas of Kenya and also those who are following this via different platforms. IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati, and then Raila Odinga will also be given a chance to say something. Then, of course, outside, he's going to have his day and his chance to say whatever it is he wants to say concerning his 2022 campaign strategy. But then inside the main hall, I believe it will be strictly, his speech will be within that particular clearance process and whatever he has to say to IEBC and vice versa. Yes, so you see there finally, Raila Odinga together with the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati. So he has gotten to that particular section. This, according to what we have witnessed over time, this should be the final stage. After they have interacted with the IEBC chairperson, then that's it. That's what we've been seeing. The candidate is now officially set off to go and, hit the ground running on their campaign for 2022. So, yes, so any minute from now, of course, we'll also just be taking you back to listen into a few of the remarks by the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati and Raila Odinga. And of course, I do not know whether Martha Karua will be given a chance, but one thing I'm sure about is that the presidential nominee is going to be given a chance to say something. So as we are waiting for that to happen, yesterday, Churchill, we were with you when chairperson Wafula Chebukati was sort of having a message for Deputy President William Ruto and talked about him having signed the electoral code and, just called upon him to respect whatever provisions are given there in the electoral code. And one of the things is actually for every aspirant to be part of, to sort of try to preach the message of peace, avoid violence, and of course matters to do with integrity. I don't know whether that is also something that stands out for you for any presidential aspirant, what role they can play in making sure that the work of IEBC is easier, lift the burden off the shoulders of IEBC. Maybe just a comment on that as well.
It's very significant, and I think those are very important comments that the IEBC chairman must make to the candidates, because the politicians have got a lot of influence, and if they invoke that influence, we'll go back there. I believe the IEBC chairperson is currently speaking. Just to cross over to the Bomas of Kenya to also get a picture of what is happening at the Bomas of Kenya right now, as Raila Odinga is at an advanced stage of being cleared to join the 2022 presidential race.
Kuda relax, relax. Utaniangusha, utaniangusha.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So I now hereby present certificate for registration of Raila Odinga as Neo.
Everyone sit. Bring the house to order.
Thank you. Let's remain silent, please. Let's remain silent and allow Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga.
You may give a few brief remarks. You may say one or two, and then I'll also say one or two things, and we can release you. Yeah.
Chairman.
the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Chairman, the Commission, other commissioners, all the other guests who have come here this morning. We are very delighted to be here this morning. And pleased that we've been able to fulfill all the requirements of the Electoral Commission, and that you have therefore agreed with all the documents that we have presented. I want to say that we have confidence that the IEBC has got the capacity to conduct free and fair elections. We therefore would like to urge you to live by the script and do exactly what the people of Kenya expect of you. We want to say and promise you that we are going to conduct ourselves as candidates and also members of our movement in a manner that conforms with the requirements of the election laws and the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. We would like to see a free and fair electoral process. We want this exercise to be done also in a free manner. We want Kenyans to be able, on the 9th of August, to freely express their will, to speak clearly that this is what the Kenyans want. We know there are several players in the electoral process. There's the people themselves, there are the candidates, there are members of various political parties, there's also the fourth estate that is also involved in the electoral process. And we expect the fourth estate to play their role objectively. So far, we really have no cause to complain. I have been in politics for a long time. I know that the media will praise you or will vilify you, whatever they do, but that is their freedom of expression. We don't question it. We want to create a free and democratic society where there's freedom of expression. The media can censor, the media can critique, the media can educate, the media can also oppose. So we really have no issue with that. We want the Kenyans also to conduct themselves peacefully throughout this electoral process. You've seen some goons defacing our billboards, some other parts of the country. That is an act of hooliganism, which is primitive. We should not be tolerated in our civilized society. And I urge our supporters not to interfere or to try to defecate any billboards or publicity material belonging to our opponents. I'm calling them opponents, not enemies, because this is just a democratic exercise. At the end of it, there will be a winner and there will be losers, but Kenya will go on. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, there are a few issues that I wanted to raise with you. One is the issue of electronic identification of voters and transmission of results. What we want to know is, has the Commission evolved to develop constitutionally compliant protocols for the results transmission path for the polling station, the National Tallying Center? 2. When will the Commission share the said protocols with the stakeholders? The second issue that we want to raise the integrity of the voter register. What is the status of the voter registration exercise on a county by county and constituency by constituency basis? Number 3, Mr. Chairman, is audit of the register of voters. Is the preliminary report by the audit firm ready? If so, what are the preliminary findings? 2, when is the draft final report of audit of register of voters expected? And 4, proposal to amend the elections general regulations, which is currently before Parliament. I want to know the status and why. Then there's a proposal to amend Regulation 83A of the Elections General Regulations to give a presiding officer power to open a ballot box that has been sealed to remove wrongly put materials at the constituency tallying center. Number 5, recruitment of returning officers. The Commission has submitted a proposal to amend the elections regulations to give itself exclusive mandate to appoint election officials, including constituency returning officers, county returning officers, presiding officers, and their deputies, without sharing their details with political parties and the independent candidates as presently required by Regulations 3, 4, and 5 of the Elections General Regulations 2012. 6, we want some information about the printing of ballot papers. To say, what measures have the Commission put in place to ensure there are no lapses, both logistical and security, in the general election? Number 7 is the smartmatic contract. The question is, what is the status of data migration from the morpho-IDEMIA system to smartmatic? What steps or measures have the Commission taken to reduce or eliminate any risks that could affect the functioning of the election technology? 8, technology issues. In the late April 2022, IEBC announced that it will add approximately 10,000 polling stations to bring the total number of polling stations in the August 2022 election to 52,481. When does the Commission intend to carry out timely end-to-end testing of election technology? Has the Commission conducted the annual audit of the election technology to guarantee data integrity, to ensure that the technology functions effectively as specified, and 3, ensure that the internal controls of the technology are effective? 5. 9. Stakeholder engagement. What measures or steps have the Commission taken to address the systemic inadequacies identified by the Supreme Court in 2017? Finally, what is the status of compliance with the statutory timelines set out in the revised elections operations plan released by the Commission on 17th January 2022? Mr. Chairman, those are the issues that are of concern to us, which you hope you'll be able to respond to adequately. And then I have the pleasure to present to you a copy of this report from my team. Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, before we go to here, I want to inform you that I've appointed my national chief agent, lawyer Saitabao Olekanchori. We will be deputized the national chief agent, one Dr. Caroline Karugu, and Professor Isaiah Wakindiki. And then finally Dr. Odur. My legal advisor, Mr. Paul Mwangi. That is my team. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You're right, Honorable Raila Odinga. Today, I'm standing here as the returning officer for presidential election. My other title, of course, is the chairman of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. And so today, the ceremony we have is mainly for registration of candidates. I've heard your statement, and the issue is focused on giving Kenyans a free, fair, and credible elections. And that is what we have been preparing for. For the last 4 years since the last election. I and my team, the commissioners and the staff, we have done what we believe needs to be done to give Kenyans what they deserve, a free, fair, and credible election. And all the issues you have raised, and I'm happy you have raised them, the Commission has answers to all of them. This is not the time and moment to go through this because we have other candidates we are clearing, but we shall look for an opportunity immediately after this, after we are done with the clearance of candidates. I would urge all presidential candidates to come for a one-on-one meeting where we can ventilate some of these issues, and I hope you shall attend in person, where I as a returning officer then can iron out these issues. And all the other issues in this memo will be answered to by the Commission in writing once we are done with this exercise. I just want to assure you that all the issues you have raised have been addressed by the Commission, and we are where we are supposed to be in terms of our election timeline. So it's focused, and And just to say that what you refer to as simulation of the dry run of technology will be done next week on or before 9th. Here at Bomas, and your representatives, you have given us a team, a chief agent to work with, and your team, that simulation exercise. So the commission is focused, and we shall be hearing from you. Please feel free to engage us. Through your team, we have an open door policy. We'd be happy that we engage even on daily basis. We don't want to hear things from your campaign rallies about the referee. Please come, we talk, and we'll do what we have to do to give Kenyans what they deserve. I just want to say that as we finish up, the Electoral Code of Conduct places a responsibility on all candidates to acknowledge the authority of the Commission in the conduct of elections and implement the orders and directions of the Commission, and publicly and repeatedly condemn violence and intimidation and avoid use of hate speech or any language of any kind which may lead to violence and intimidation, whether to demonstrate party strength, gain advantage, or for any other reason. And I'm happy you have said your party will adhere to the Code of Conduct, and we condemn those acts of violence, including tearing each other's campaign posters. That's to be condemned. Let's campaign peacefully. This is our country. We don't have another country. And I wish you all the best as you go about the campaigns. And please feel free to engage us. And we are here to serve you and the people of Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The IEBC chairperson, who is also the presidential returning officer, has cleared Raila Amolo Odinga to contest for the 2022 presidential elections through the Azimio la Umoja coalition party. So far, 5 of the presidential candidates have been cleared by the presidential returning officer, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, and we will have a short break and reconvene again to continue with the process of clearing presidential aspirants. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best. We will allow the media to conduct their interviews outside the hall. Thank you.
Right, so there you have it. That's how Raila Odinga has been cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and he issued his certificate to vie for the country's top seat, that is the presidency. And Wafula Chebukati there, the chair of the IEBC, was leading the entire process. And of course, while addressing, Raila Odinga and his team gave an assurance of the Commission's commitment to conduct a free and fair elections, and of course also opening an opportunity for further consultations should the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya team have anything they would want clarified by IEBC. And the Commission has just taken a break. They are going, of course, to continue with the process of clearing other presidential aspirants. But Raila Odinga, with his team there, including leaders cutting across from different political parties under the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, and of course just fellow Kenyans who are supporters of that particular coalition, leaving the main hall at the Bomas of Kenya after that clearance exercise of Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua. And of course, we also will just be staying for you at the Bomas of Kenya as we anticipate further activities to be taking place right after he has been cleared. Probably should be addressing members of the Fourth Estate outside the main hall. that is where maybe he's going to talk more about now his way forward after he has been cleared. Inside the main hall, we saw his speech was quite, focused on the relationship that they should be having with IEBC, and he strictly spoke about what they expect from IEBC as the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. He didn't take the political direction, nothing political about what he was talking about earlier. Just to take you through a few of the issues that Raila Odinga raised as what he wants IEBC to address. Of course, one thing that stood out there was questions he posed for IEBC, asking what the status of the voter register is, and saying that the audit of the register of voters, asking whether the preliminary report is ready, and of course when the final report is expected. He also talked about the proposal to have presiding officers given power to open ballot boxes with wrongly placed materials, also just querying on the progress of that, and of course what measures the commission has put in place to ensure that there is no security lapses during elections. On the issue of technology, election technology, Raila Odinga asked whether the commission has conducted testing on the technology that is going to be used. Has the commission carried out annual audit of the election technology? And of course, also just querying to see whether that has been done. But concern was majorly centered on, what the commission has done to ensure there's going to be a free, fair, and credible election. But he began his speech by saying that he has confidence that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has what it takes to conduct the free and fair elections come August 2022. So as they're leaving borders of Kenya, of course, they're going to be having in the event that they win in the August polls. That is an event that will see Raila Odinga and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance during that event at Nyayo Stadium. That, according to the program, is supposed to begin from around 3-4 p.m. in the evening. They are going to unveil the manifesto of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. So yeah, we will be covering all that for you, but just to give my guests also a moment to dissect and talk about what they've just witnessed. Millie, what is it that stood out for you about that session between Raila Odinga and even the IEBC chairperson of Wafula Chebukati? What stood out for you about what what was said?
I think that one of the things we constantly hear about Raila Odinga is that he listens. He listens to the people around him, and he listens to what they have to say. For me, that became quite apparent from that session there, because you could see that he listened to his technical advisors and read a very technical communique to the IEBC chairman, that you could see him actually struggling to ensure that he reads properly as envisaged. For some of us, you could read the words of Paul Mwangi and Otiende Amolo in those statements as he's reading. And all this, I think, from the lessons we have learned starting from 2013, when, remember, the Supreme Court locked out a lot of material because of time constraints and said this was out of time, and did not consider the bulk of the evidence that the presidential candidate had then. 2017, we saw the lessons that were learned then in as far as ensuring and mentioning and calling out issues that you feel needed to have been addressed by the arbiter of the day, which is IEBC. We are clearly seeing that the lawyers behind the scenes are already forming, getting information or gathering data that will form presidential petitions, should there be need for one, come August 2022 after the general elections. So you could see that in the questions that they were asking, because some of these things were not within the purview of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, such as there was clear instructions to the DPP by the Supreme Court that they should go there and investigate staff and personnel within there to highlight or to bring out the illegalities that had been occasioned in the process. And that, of course, is not within, to a large extent, within the ambit of IEBC. But there are certain things that IEBC itself was required to do. And these are questions that are being raised now, because those will form part of the issues should there be need for presidential petition. So I think it was quite professionally done. It was a sobering moment in the heat of the hula baloo that we've had there, and the hype and the joy, for us to focus and remember that at the end of the day, there are some technical issues that need to be adhered to so that we see that independence of the commission, because it's not just seen in the name of the person there, as we saw in 2007, after we had gone through what we went through, and then people were keen not to have a name that is assigned with any of the big communities seen as chair of IEBC. We wanted a neutral name. It's not in the name, it's in the processes and how you ensure that those processes work. So for me, that's what I saw in that, and I thought that it's a good thing for him to sober us up at the moment and remember, because again now he will go and hype out the crowd, but after hyping out the crowd, there'll be need to remind us that your joy needs to translate into a vote. It doesn't matter how happy you are or how excited or how much you believe. At the end of the day, if you don't go and spend that 2 minutes in the ballot box by yourself, between you, your God, and your other gods, you know, then it means nothing. It means nothing.
All right, Churchill?
Yes, I think I cannot agree more with what Millie has said. His speech was quite technical, and I think he sort of wanted to put the IEBC into defense, and also he is also, from the issues he has raised, he sort of was trying to counter some of the things that his main competitor had raised initially, especially about the voter register and the voter transfer of some of the votes, because I think the way in which the competitor had raised it was appearing like it was done against it was done in favor of the Azimio coalition. But I think the way he has raised it was more professional, was more for the best interest of all the candidates. The other thing that has come out very clearly there, of course, you have seen the Azimio Oka principles all there. You know, they were all present, and you know, and the choice of the chief agent was quite interesting. I was expecting some very key political luminary,
yeah.
Yes.
But then, you know, he actually chose somebody who is not known. You know, so that was kind of like a surprise to me. And of course, Paul Mwangi was expected, considering his technical legal competence and his loyalty with the former Prime Minister over time. The other thing that I have noted is he has affirmed his support for the media, the fourth estate. And you know, he's experienced that Kenya is a democratic state, and the fact that the media is at will to take whichever choice they want, and you know, speak whatever they feel that is deemed for them. And I think he's now trying to counter what his main opponent had spoken yesterday, where he used the opportunity to castigate the fourth estate.
Something that also said that touches on what we were talking about earlier before we just went to Bomas of Kenya was when he said that political opponents are not enemies, and the process will end. There has to be a winner, there has to be a loser. Remember when we were talking about the electoral code and the role that politicians can play in making the work of IEBC easy? Maybe just a comment about that, and also Raila Odinga taking the opportunity to, you know, just say that before even the election.
I'm glad you brought us back to that, because for me that was a key moment. A key moment to remind people there's always need, and for that voice that people will listen to remind us that in the joy and the hype of the moment, please sober up and remember there's tomorrow. It is just the same way we always even tell students when a school is celebrating that they marked the best and they have the highest number of A's or whatever it is that may be the focus of that particular examination. And then you remind them, yes, but now the next class is on. You know, it's good to sober people up so that we remember that we must vote, we must express our will, we must express what our wish is in as far as the leadership is concerned. But at the end of the day, let us remember that there'll be tomorrow, and tomorrow we still need Kenya. We still need the country where we can say this, we are a citizen, and where we do not expect to be discriminated against, and where if there's an allegation of discrimination, the entire country is up in arms and saying this should not happen to people who are locals around here. Unlike other instances of discrimination we've seen against, for example, people of black color, say in the Ukraine war and other places. Here you have the right, it is your home, and you must protect it, and you must remember that it must subsist beyond the next election. There have been people who've been major characters in elections, and we had so much joy. I remember at one time in 2002 when everybody used to go crazy seeing Mwai Kibaki there. He is now not there. He is now not there in the presidential equation. He is now not there in the talk. But Kenya still is. So it's important to remind us about that. And I thought that was a very, very good thing.
Yeah. But are we reading a genuine trend in terms of what they genuinely say when they are trying to bring that sober environment? Because, I mean, let's be realistic. The Deputy President, William Ruto, you saw speaking inside the main hall at the Bomas of Kenya yesterday, and the DP that spoke at a rally that he had at Kamukunji grounds. These are two different people. And the Raila Odinga you've just, seen speak at Bomas, and later on, probably at a campaign rally later, this talk about let's be sober, do you see a genuine intention of really coming down the country and having a sober political engagement?
You know, the dynamics are tricky in the sense that, in a political competition, there are two issues. It's one thing to say that, the loser will be won. Yeah. It is really another thing to accept that when you lose. So, but then you need to speak that for purposes of bringing out your statesmanship and for your political image. Because you see, when you're vying for presidency, people want to see your presidential stature. People want to see your capacity to become a united figure of the country. And, if, for example, today you are in a suite, and we expect you to be in the suite to an extent that this is the suite that we will be proud of you when you are speaking in the United Nations conference or the United Nations head of state summit. So, apart from the fact that you're a politician, you need to be charismatic enough to appeal and people be proud of you as their leader. So there are instances when you have to speak things that bring out that stature. But then... Without
meaning those things? Or I mean, that's exactly my question.
In many occasions...
So do you just say those things just to be a statesman, or do you really have to mean what you say?
In many occasions you might mean them, but circumstances and other political factors might not allow. Because you see, you as an individual, you are standing for presidency. Yes, you mean well for the country. But remember, you're representing a host of other interests, a host of people who have vested interests in you. And whatever thing you mean at the back end, they will tell you that, you know what, you said this, but we want this. So that is one dynamics. The other thing is that when you go into the political rallies, people will not understand the key jargons that the elite will want to hear, because here he was speaking to the elite. But in the political rallies, he's speaking to people who do not understand these legal jargons or these, all these big things about sustainability, about, credibility of election.
But isn't your role as a leader to make them understand? Because that is what is important in the process. This politics of name calling and watering down your political opponent at a campaign rally.
Absolutely, it is, yes. But the question is, how do you bring it out? Because you see, if you bring it out in a manner that does not appeal to them, you risk losing them to your opponent. So you have to strike the balance, because it's a competition. You are going into the political rally and you mean so well, and you're speaking everything that is so good, you're translating what you spoke here in the political rally, and people are like wondering, what are you talking about? Your political opponent comes and sway their emotions with what they want to hear, and they are all gone. So you have then to balance up and find how do you meet the expectations of the elite and how do you meet the expectations of the masses. And remember also, in the public rally, things are very unstructured. You know, as opposed to this other formal setting, people are extremely unstructured. People they are excited, and sometimes that excitement, also even you as a leader, moves you to an extent that you end up speaking things that you did not necessarily mean. So, in fact, that is even one of the reasons why you find when some of these leaders become presidents or they come now in positions, anything they speak has to be scripted. Because leaders are also driven by the emotions of their supporters. So to control that, we write a script. So there are a host of other factors that come into play.
I mean, regardless, Millie, are we only excited by the political dress down? I mean, is that what only excites Kenyans at a public rally? And leaders have to follow that script?
Unfortunately, it is the truth. Because,
really?
Yes, because when you
Why can't you just come and sell your agenda? Tell us about what you plan to do for us.
You come there and then you start telling us about which policy we will walk away as Kenyans. And we may not attend your rally next time. What we want is we want to hear, Nito boy, you know. Those are the things we want to hear. Unfortunately. And there is a way in which you can try and state these things without making it become offensive. You can make fun of your opponents without antagonizing people against an entire community. You can make statements that hit at your opponent himself as a person without making statements that hit at him as a member of a certain community. And that would still keep people together because we'd be making fun of your opponent, and those are the things that excite us. Life is so hard in Kenya that people need a light moment, you know? They want to laugh.
For example, if you want to get the gist of it, it's like, look at some of the clips that do round, even within social media, and you'll find they even go viral. You know, these are statements that do not even make sense. They are statements that you cannot even implement within policy frameworks. But they're the ones that excite people. You go there and speak sense and speak things that are policy oriented. People take it as too boring. It's too normal. These are the same things we do in offices. So that is the most unfortunate part of it.
All right. So unfortunately we've run out of time for this, but it's been quite interesting just, taking us through this particular process. As we are bringing this to a close, what does the road look like ahead for Raila Odinga? Let me begin with you, Millie. He has just, achieved one of what I would term a big milestone for anyone who wants to vie in this particular country. The commission getting that green light that now you're cleared. You can now join the race officially. That's a big milestone. Now, what does the road ahead look like for him? What is at stake?
I think that it is clear that he seems to have a good understanding of what is ahead, because before this, he had launched the Azimio campaign teams regionally, and we know that that is going to be the engine which he needs to use to take people out. We have also seen that he's been trying to deal with the issue of the coalitions. Many at the rallies you see him standing up and holding hands of two competitors and saying these ones are stepped down in favor of this one, because we know, for example, it's been said, and so I can repeat it even here, that the Langata seat was then it was NASA's to lose, and they lost it because of splitting votes amongst their competitors, and it ended up going to the Jubilee side at that particular time. So I think he's been dealing with those things so that he may not lose so many key seats should he win the presidency, and making sure that that agenda stays true so that people vote for Azimio, and where there's a strong person who is not is in the Kenya Kwanza camp, that they make sure that they find a way of taming that process so that they'll have the numbers. Because we were taught by Jubilee One that numbers is everything. They had the numbers, and so they could do everything. And at the end of the day, they will tell you, we have the numbers. If you have numbers, don't speak.
Okay, Millie, thank you. Chachi, your final words?
Yeah, I think that for him, he's coming from a point where he has learned a lot. He has a lot of lessons to draw draw from, and I'm sure he's going to use that to moving forward. The other thing is that, you know, his candidature is an inspiration to many people, considering that even to his opponents, you know, this is the 5th time you're doing it, and being that the 5th time you're doing it, you have never given up. So that's an inspiration. But then I think he also have work now to begin countering narratives of, you know, that he is part of the problems that our Kenyans have been going through and things like that. So we hope to see how things unfold moving forward. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Churchill Saoke, a political analyst, and of course Milly Lwanga, governance expert. Thank you for creating time for us and taking us through this whole process. And there you have it, Raila Odinga, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential flag bearer, has been cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. He is now the 5th aspirant to be cleared to run for the country's top position. Yesterday was the Deputy President William Ruto, and 3 other presidential aspirants were also cleared, and now they're candidates for the 2022 general election presidential race. And that's how we wrap it up. Thank you so much for creating time for us. Remember, there's a lot we're still following up for you, including the politics of the weekend, as different alliances and political players are going to be traversing different parts of the country to take their charm offensive. We'll be having that cocktail in our comprehensive news bulletin that will begin at 1 p.m. and also successive ones at 7 p.m. and at 9 p.m. So do stay with that throughout the day. My name is Safina Cheng Oma, and assisting me on the sign language interpretation has been Byron Abuli. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon.
Top sports attractions on KBC Channel 1. In July, Kenya Morans face off against the DRC, Egypt and Senegal in the FIBA Basketball World Cup African qualifiers in Alexandria, Egypt from 1st to 3rd of July 2022. Also in July, Kenya plays South Africa in Rugby League test matches in Nairobi with the return fixtures set for October. Still in July, watch the World Athletic Championships from 15th to 24th July live from Oregon, USA, as Kenyan athletes seek glory. Followed by the 22nd Commonwealth Games from 28th July to 8th August live from Birmingham, England. In August, join our coverage of the World Athletics Under-20 Championships from the 1st to 6th of August 2022 from Cali, Colombia. Then, in November, catch the World Half Marathon Championships on 13th November from Yangzhou, China. Now that's what sets us apart as KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Differently. Naona kama I'm ever succeeding and always. Hata mahali tumekaa Kibera, kuka hapo venye nimekaa imenisaidia kulana lot. Now I can do or I'm doing what a normal woman mwenye akona mguu yote mwenye naweza kimbia naweza fanya chochote cannot do.
They always think either you were raped, this was a forced sex that got you into pregnancy, because you were not supposed to, according to the standards that have been set by the society.
We're differently abled, differently.
Uchaguzi mkuu wa tarehe 9 Agosti utabadilisha pakubwa taswira ya kisiasa ya taifa hili. Je, hii inamaanisha nini kwako wewe mpiga kura? Kila Jumapili saa 12 jioni, jiunge nao Gladys Mungai na Harith Salim kwenye makala yetu ya Kenya ya Amua, ambapo pamoja na wadau mbalimbali watajadili na kudadavua kwa kina michakato ya uchaguzi. Fanya uamuzi wa busara. Usikose kutazama Kenya ya Amua kila Jumapili kwenye runinga uipendayo ya KBC Channel 1.
It is only natural for a woman to want a better education, to want better healthcare, to want poverty reduction programs. And that, my dear friends, is what is the woman's vote.
Okay, you know, the government has been giving us fake promises for the recent past few months and years when we go for voting.
Representation is somebody who can take my issues from the ward, from the constituency, from the county, and take them there so that now the policies can be developed.
Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
It takes courage. Don't feel ashamed.
Deuteronomy chapter 6, beginning to read from verse 4. Deuteronomy chapter 6, beginning to read from verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Our second reading comes from the Gospel of Mark chapter 10, beginning to read at verse 13. It says,
People were bringing little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them. But the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he was indignant. He said to them, Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as this. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it. And he took the little children in his arms, placed his hands on them, and blessed them. This is the word of the Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kindly let us stand.